Welcome back to another deep dive. Today, we're jumping into a really profound question, one posed centuries ago in the Bhagavad Gita.
That's right.
You have Arjuna, the warrior, standing on this epic battlefield, and he turns to Krishna, his guide, and asks something quite fundamental. Which path is better, worshiping you with form or meditating on the formless?
It's a huge question, and one that echoes, I think, for many people today. How do we connect with the divine or whatever ultimate reality means to you?
Exactly. Is God personal?
Yeah.
Impersonal? Maybe you've even asked yourself something similar.
It's very likely. And for this discussion, we're really focusing in on chapter 12 of the Gita, Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion.
Right.
We've looked at some key excerpts, really trying to distill the essence of what Krishna teaches there.
And our mission really is to cut through some of the maybe dense language you sometimes find and give you a clear path to understanding these ideas, make them practical, relatable.
Yeah, make them usable.
We want to unpack Krishna's answers, which are maybe a bit surprising, figure out what real devotion looks like, and discover who the Gita says is actually dearest to God.
It's not always who you might think.
Definitely not. So let's start with Arjuna's big question, chapter 12, verse 1. He lays it right out. Who's the better devotee? The one worshiping the form or the one focused on the unmanifest, the abstract? It sets up this classic spiritual dilemma, doesn't it? Personal God or impersonal absolute. Before we even hear the answer, what's your gut feeling? Where do you lean?
Well, it's interesting because Krishna's response right away is incredibly inclusive. He doesn't immediately say one is superior.
Oh, okay.
He says, look, both paths are valid. Both are noble ways to reach the goal, which is, I think, a really foundational point. It honors different approaches.
So no wrong way initially, at least. That's quite liberating.
It is. It's a kind of radical acceptance of different temperaments, different needs.
So, okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. If both are valid, why does Krishna then say one path involves more struggle?
Yes. This is where the practical wisdom comes in. Krishna points out that for embodied beings, that's us, living in these physical forms, experiencing the world through senses.
Right, tangible reality.
Exactly. For us, it's naturally harder to truly grasp, to love, to fix our minds on something completely abstract, something formless.
It's hard to hug the concept of everything.
Sort of, yeah. Our minds tend to latch onto forms, images, personalities. So he suggests, while meditating on the formless is absolutely a valid path, it demands a very high level of detachment, of focus. It can be tough.
More challenging.
More challenging for many. So he says, if that's difficult, devotion to a form to him, as Krishna, is often an easier, more accessible starting point. It's not judging. It's just compassionate observation.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It feels very human, very understanding of our limitations, maybe.
I think so.
Now, this leads into another really powerful idea from the chapter, this notion that pure devotion is enough. Which kind of counters a common idea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That being devout means you have to renounce everything, give up your job, family, responsibilities. Is that what the Gita is saying?
That's a really important question. And note, the text clarifies this. It says, devotion doesn't mean giving up the world. Not necessarily.
Yes.
It means offering your world to Krishna. It's about the attitude, the intention behind your actions.
So it's an internal shift, not always an external one.
Exactly. It's about surrendering the results of your actions, dedicating your work, your life, with that single-minded focus. And the promise there is huge.
Which is?
Delivery from the ocean of birth and death, that cycle of suffering of reincarnation. So the mundane, done with devotion, becomes sacred. It becomes the path itself.
Wow. So offering your world, what does that really look like day to day?
Well, that brings us beautifully to Krishna's next point, which is just so compassionate. He lays out this kind of ladder of surrender.
A ladder. I like that image.
Yeah, it's like he's saying, okay, wherever you are, whatever your capacity right now, there's a step for you. He meets you where you are. No one is left behind.
Okay, tell me about these steps. How does this ladder work?
So the top rung, the most direct, perhaps most demanding, is fix your mind solely on me, Krishna. Let your intellect rest in me. Constant, unwavering focus.
Deep meditation, basically.
Essentially, yes, for those who can manage that deep absorption. But right away, he says, okay, if that's too hard.
Which, let's be honest, it is for many of us.
Right. So the next step down is practice devotion. Abhyasa yoga. Try to reach me through consistent practice.
What does practicing devotion mean here? Like rituals? Chanting?
It could be. It could mean regular prayer, chanting names, hearing or reading sacred stories, consciously remembering the divine throughout the day, building devotional habits.
Okay, making it part of your routine.
Exactly. But then he anticipates again. What if even that feels too difficult? Maybe life is too chaotic, the mind too restless?
Okay, what's the next rung down?
Then he says, just do your duty as an offering to me. Perform actions for my sake. This ties right into karma yoga, selfless action.
So your job, your family duties, whatever your responsibilities are.
Yes. Do them well, but without attachment to the results, offering the action itself. Like you said earlier, it's the internal orientation. Cooking a meal, doing your work, caring for someone, but offered up.
Okay, that feels much more accessible for, well, most people living busy lives.
It really does. And then, remarkably, there's one more step. If even that feels too hard, if dedicating every action feels overwhelming.
There's still something.
Yes. He says, then simply give up attachment to the fruits of your actions. Be self-controlled in work. Just act rightly, serve others, let go of the need for a specific outcome, reward, or recognition.
Wow. So from the highest meditative absorption.
All the way down to simply acting selflessly and letting go of the result.
It's incredibly inclusive.
Yeah.
What really stands out to you about that flexibility?
Right.
It just seems so practical.
It really underscores that sincerity matters more than the specific form of the practice. It's about the heart's intention. Krishna isn't demanding one single, rigid path. He's providing options, acknowledging human reality. It's deeply compassionate, I think.
It really is. Okay, so we have these paths, this ladder. It all leads to this core question of the chapter, doesn't it? Who is dearest to God? After all this, what's the answer?
And Krishna gives a very clear, detailed answer across several verses. He lists the qualities of the person who is exceedingly dear to him.
And it's not about miracles or powers or...
No, not at all. It's about character,
Yeah.
inner qualities. He says the one who is free from hatred towards any being, who is friendly, compassionate.
Universal goodwill.
Exactly. Free from the sense of I and mine, even-minded in pain and pleasure, forgiving, content, always steady in yoga, self-controlled, resolute.
Wow, that's quite a list, it sounds like. Emotional maturity, almost. Stability.
Very much so. Someone who doesn't cause agitation in the world and isn't agitated by the world, free from envy, fear, anxiety. Pure, skillful, unconcerned, untroubled, renouncing the sense of doership.
Calm in success and failure.
Yes. Equal to friend and foe, honor and dishonor, heat and cold, free from attachment, content with anything, steady-minded, that's the profile.
It's striking how internal and ethical these qualities are.
Absolutely. And then comes the real punchline, the big reveal in a way.
Which is?
In verse 12.20, summing it all up, he basically says, it's these people, the ones who follow this path of Dharma, full of faith, regarding me as supreme, they are exceedingly dear to me.
So it's not the scholar with all the knowledge.
Yeah.
Not the priest performing the rituals. Not the philosopher with the complex argument.
Not necessarily. It's the humble, faithful heart that embodies these qualities of compassion, equanimity, non-hatred, contentment. That's who is dearest.
That just flips so many traditional ideas about spiritual hierarchy on their head, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It democratizes devotion, in a sense. It makes the highest spiritual attainment accessible through cultivating inner virtue and sincere love.
It really emphasizes that bhakti, this path of devotion, is truly for everyone. It's not about achieving some elite status.
No, it's about sincerity. It's about the quality of your heart and your intention.
Which brings us back to that core insight, doesn't it? Krishna doesn't ask for wealth or status or even brilliant intellect.
He asks for love, for attention, for your sincere heart.
So the whole chapter really is saying your heart is the temple. Love is the offering. God doesn't need your gold or your accomplishments.
He longs for your attention, your presence, your focused devotion, however you can offer it.
Which leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? As you go back into your day, maybe reflect on this. What does it truly mean to offer your attention as an act of devotion?
In a world constantly pulling at our focus.
Exactly. How can these ancient ideas about sincerity, about service, about just being present with a devoted heart apply to our very modern challenges of distraction and just showing up?
That's a powerful question to carry with you.
It really is. Well, that's our deep dive for today. Next time, we'll be shifting gears a bit, exploring Sankhya Yoga, looking at the fundamental difference between matter and spirit according to the Gita. Another fascinating area.
Looking forward to it.
Definitely. See you then.